Hi, my name's Anne-Marie, and I imagine you found yourself here because you're wanting to learn more about the integral leadership immersions. So I want to just start with a frame here, and then if you want to know more or you find yourself interested, you can apply, and then once I receive your application, I will reach out to you to schedule a 60-minute consult to learn more about what it is you're looking for, to share and answer any questions about the work that I bring, and to figure out if it's a good fit for us. So essentially, it's broken down into 3 phases, and every immersion is customized based on the needs of the leader that I'm working with. So phase 1 is always doing the discovery and an assessment process together. Phase 2 is the immersion, it's the deep dive. We've determined where we're going, and now we're kind of co-creating how we're going to navigate through that. And I'm often, I am definitely the guide for that. So I will bring in ideas and I really draw from my intuition during that phase. And so the 3rd phase is integration. And here's the wireframe of what it can look like. During the assessment phase, the main thing we're solving for is, what are the repeating patterns that are draining you, depleting you? What are the dynamics? So we could look at this from 3 different perspectives. What's happening in your personal life? So with your relationship to yourself. So are there patterns around an inner critic that's just holding you back from bringing more of who you truly are into the world, bringing more of your leadership, more of your voice? Is there something along the lines of your own relationship to self that needs to be investigated? The second one, and they're all interwoven, but the second one is interpersonal. So we move from the personal into the interpersonal, and we look at, okay, so what are the relationship dynamics that you're finding the most frustrating, the places where you feel like you're most depleted, feel most powerless, or you're getting feedback about a certain behavior that's having impact on people and you just simply don't know what to do. That's the second part that we'll be looking at during our assessment phase. And then the 3rd phase is we're looking at, from a systemic approach, we're looking at what's the larger impact of what you're wanting to either change in the world, or how you're wanting to show up differently within the systems you're working in. Or with someone that I just worked with last week, we're looking at how can he reinvent himself inside of a system that feels very oppressive to him. It feels like it doesn't allow him the full expression of his gifts, and he's feeling held back. So we've been sitting in that process around system, which relates to how he's relating to people, how he's relating to himself, but ultimately, is this the right place for him to thrive? So during the assessment, we'll look through those 3 lenses around where you are feeling that you're feeling limited or unexpressed in certain ways, or stuck, or maybe it's not even that specific. Maybe you're at this place where there's more. You have more to give, and that there's some kind of complacency, and you just want to go to the next level, but you don't even know what that is. So we will explore that together, and we'll draw that out in our assessment phase. And then that takes us to phase 2. So in phase 2, well, actually, I should say one more thing about phase 1. During the assessment process, we will have dialogue. There'll be some questions that you answer before we even meet. And we may, depending on your role and what your outcomes are, or the goals that you're seeking to achieve, we will either use a leadership tool, if you're in an organization, called the Leadership Circle, the 360 assessment, or we'll use one that I've designed with my power reclamation system. So we will be doing some additional gathering of data through a more formalized assessment. If that's not your thing, we can gather the data in lots of other ways, and definitely will through questions and conversations. So that's phase 1. Now we go into phase 2, which is really the deep dive. We're rolling up our sleeves, we're getting in there, we're looking at the impact of these places that are leaving you feeling powerless or feeling stuck that we've identified in the first. So we'll get into that in a number of different ways, but I'll just keep it simple for now. We will be meeting 2 times a month. This could change, with a structured meeting time. In between those times, you'll have homework, you'll have self-assessment practices or self-awareness practices. Let's say you're trying to move through an interpersonal conflict with someone, a dynamic that keeps draining your energy, and we've mapped a conversation you're going to have with that person. That might be a piece of homework. And then in the middle, in between us meeting together live or on video or in person, you will also have access to leave me messages by a memo, voice message memo, like WhatsApp or Voxer. And you're also free to text me. And the reason is because that we'll get to in a moment about integration. I don't believe in the model that we wait until we're through the other side and we integrate. We're integrating all the way along the process. And that helps us accelerate actually the next step. So the more that we can step back, celebrate, integrate what you are achieving, the insights you're having, the more energy you'll have to keep going to do the next step. So part of doing the check-ins and being able to leave me messages, I have found with clients is that it actually catapults the process and makes not having to wait until we talk become a barrier. So that's phase 2. And there'll also be opportunity depending on what's happening for you. I may design customized meditation, guided meditations that you listen to help keep kind of poking at that subconscious belief that we might be working through. There's all different things that could happen in this phase depending on what the resources are that we want to draw on. And we might draw on my training as a somatic coach, or we might draw on another person that we want to bring in that has a specialty in family constellation. So it's wide open in this phase, and we're co-creating it based on what arises and based on your goals. And then the third phase is the integration phase. So this is basically the place where we are harvesting what you've discovered, and we're building an integration map for you. We're building a process of how do you keep this going? What are the support systems that will help continue to help you further integrate and embody this new way of being or these new insights? And also in this phase, depending on timing, there'll also be an opportunity to join in some kind of integrative mastermind group. So other people that go through the Leadership Immersion, they will also have had their journey. And sometimes the integration is to add on a process with a small group where you get to actually hear each other's journey and continue to be support systems for one another. So the only other element that I didn't mention, because it can come in at any of those second and third phase, is a retreat, or it can actually come in the first phase too, is a in-person retreat with me, or we can do them online. So it's either a half day or a full day retreat, and that will be fuel for us. It will give us an opportunity to actually really go to the depths. If we're trying to get to the root of what's been causing the area where you feel unstuck or you're wanting to have a shift, sometimes an immersion like that can really help open up the gates for us to clear the way for something new. So that's the journey. There's different lengths. So once I know more about what you're shooting for and what your goals are, we'll either be designing a 4, a 9, or a 12-month program. And if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Please email me. And I hope to get to know some of you better. It seems that there's just a time right now where those of us who are on a conscious path of really wanting to bring the fullness of who we are, it means we need to explore our shadows. And there's many, many of us that are finding the freedom and the liberation of doing so. So thank you for listening.